Now that CattleCon 24 has concluded in Orlando, one of the top issues discussed at this year's event included cattle traceability. It's also a topic being discussed out in the countryside. And this week, members of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association set policy on that traceability end.
We've had extensive policy on traceability for years now, and it lays out all of the tenets we believe should be in a nationally significant traceability program. And historically, that policy hasn't taken a position on voluntary adoption by the industry or mandatory implementation of that through USDA. The tenets that have been in that policy forever are focused on, making sure that producers aren't bearing the cost of those devices, making sure that the data is protected, making sure that the system is moving at the speed of commerce and isn't acting as a hindrance to getting those cattle moved through the supply chain. These are all the tenets that have been negotiated amongst all the states for years to make sure that regardless of how this comes about, we're in a position where we can tell folks what we need out of that process. The debate this week in the building was really over where we go from here.
NCBA state affiliates like the Montana Stock Growers Association support a voluntary national traceability system and said it's important more education on disease traceability occur in the countryside.
How does a disease outbreak issue, if we should have something like foot and mouth, how does that differ from what we can trace back just through brand inspections? Very different things, so we need more education. We need to have that conversation. But at this point, anything very mandatory, we're going to be opposed to it.
During the policymaking process, that was the consensus producers agreed upon, a voluntary national traceability system.
Where we landed was pretty close to where we started. It's still a voluntary policy. We believe this should be industry driven. We believe that those tags and readers should be paid for by funding from either the state or federal government because we're doing a service here in protecting the economy and protecting the beef supply chain and the food supply chain. So that was kind of where we ended up is look, it's coming. We're seeing this rulemaking. We support the use of those electronic ID tags. We want to educate about why that's important, but we want to make sure they're paid for, and we want to make sure that we're charting that course rather than being subject to a government mandate.
And for all of the policy items passed this week at CattleCon, just visit westernagnetwork.com.